And hello, and many good afternoons, good morning to you guys, and especially missed when I was starting up, and then had a series of emergencies to deal with, like I'm not having emergencies at the moment, and I apologize for that. Now, and I am reading about such things and have reading from I will briefly have long picking weird little things off my mic. That's just how I roll. Hands for what to do. It busy and difficult time right now in many ways. Nothing, not in the sense nobody's sick or injured or whatever. Very complicated, and so as a result, it's I have to spend very little time thinking in what I might do with in time. So although I realize that I'm going to have time to actually put something to if I'm going to do something other than chat, which is based for most of the last couple of years through the pandemic. Anyway, I'm going to do for a while long, and same so where I'm at on that, I will let you know when I have a better idea. And as I said, to sit down and I could do and how I could do it. Before people checking in, somebody shopping. I don't, because I don't know. The only is given on my end of this whole process. Yeah, how loud the volume is. So as a result, going on out there in the world, that's the case. I apologize. You know what to do. Which I've tried, and we still. It may be the machine. It could be, who knows? It could just computer anymore. I know them because I actually replaced my old, but it could still be, or it could just be the kind of things going on with their Wi-Fi on anything, because I don't flip. So anyway, I apologize. Be interesting. I recordings and see comes through. Yeah, audio in and out. I don't know. Audio in and out. The microphone right now, I can't. I'll just close. Try and we can see what's going on as we, like I said, yeah, you know, if I could afford to, I would professional studio radio days. I'm doing it here in the TAD kit, doing it with the equipment that I have. Oh, I wish I could be more convincing about quality, but so anyway, just kind of continue, and oh god, several people saying it's problems with the sound. Actually, what I can do, let me see if I can make this submission. for the sound. That one can go. And let's try. Okay, Mike's going to go. Don't fret. All right. All right. Yeah, we still on the same sound here. Is it still finding the sound? Audio. Okay. Okay. James recommends turn it on and turn it off and turn it back on again. Is that any difference in the sound? If not, I may have run through my limits of what I can do with what's going on. Better? Okay. Yeah, that may just be because I had too many what's the word I'm looking for? Too many accessories, and it was out too far along the chain. All right, glad to hear it. Glad that we seem to have the sound fixed a bit. Let me just check in and see who's here, and maybe we'll do our reading slightly early tonight instead of me just going dabba 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 dabba. Not that I don't enjoy doing that. Anyway, who's here? Claudia. Hello, Claudia. Good to see you. Medardo. Hello, hello. Lovely to see you as always. Jared, hello, hello, hello. I'm glad I was missed. I missed you all too. And oh, good. I'm glad you're enjoying Narrow Dark. Kelly, good evening to you too. Nice to see you. Jerry, hello. Hello. I like the all caps there. Hello. Hello to you too. Good to see you. Okay, Angie, hi, good to see you. Emily, yes, I saw this. This is Emily has. You can check it out in the chat, so I don't have to read the whole thing through. But won a book award from the Midwest Indie Publishers Association SpecFic category and was named a guest of honor for the first time for ConCon in Ottawa. Oh, excellent! Congratulations, Emily. That's really neat news. And it's. She's written it in the chat section here, so you can go and read all of the stuff there. Pierre, hello, hello. Bonsoir. Good to see you. Kristen, as always, a pleasure. Barban, hello, hello. Okay, now we've got everybody talking about the audio because I'm going back a couple of minutes here. Okay, Ilva, darling, hello. Weird Sleep Pattern Hospital. I assume that means that you're having a weird sleep pattern, but I like the idea of something called Weird Sleep Pattern Hospital, either a soap opera or a surrealist painting. Anyway, so Weird Sleep Pattern Hospital. Indeed. Very good. Okay, Jeremy, hello. Good to see you as always. Let me see who else who's here. I didn't say any. Okay, so all right. Everybody's saying seems to be working better. Good. Okay. Glenn, thank you. I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only person wearing a pink shirt. James Hooton. James is the one who suggested I turn it off and turn it back on again. Let me see who else. Jared, if I haven't said hello to Jared yet. Hello, Jared. Good to see you too. And let me see. We got everybody here. Igor, hello, good to see you. All right, so I think we have checked in with everybody who's left a hello. I'll try to remember to have a look later on and see what's going on. What I said starting out was not anything super interesting if you missed it because of sound choppiness. What I was saying was simply that it's first of all, I apologized for missing week before last when I managed to do the early Sunday morning iteration for the folks, mostly, Europe, Australia, etc., New Zealand, and Asia and wherever else they might happen to be who wanted to listen, and then couldn't do it on the 7 p.m. slot, same as this slot, because of just a whole bunch of crazy stuff that happened on Sunday that all had to be dealt with and just left me absolutely gefickt. So kerplunk. And so that's the primary thing that I was saying. And then I was also saying, I think that I still don't know what I'm going to do long term, but I realized that before I can make any long term plans for doing live broadcasting, If I want to do anything more ambitious than what I'm doing, which is just reading, I will have to do, a lot of planning and preparation, and maybe streamline the technical side a bit and some other things. So that was, oh, you're, sorry, I just was reading somebody's comment. So that's what is going on with that stuff. And so that's why for the moment I'm just going to read so that we keep our connection going. And while we're still dealing with the newest pandemic variants and other things, that, I can still bring you this quality TAD programming. I'm saying that with tongue in cheek. So anyway, who else have we got here that's just showed up? John has. Hello, guten Abend. Guten Abend to you too. Greg, hello, hello. Good to see you. All right. So that being the case, I think that's the only stuff I said. Just it's been a crazy last few months. I went into some detail on this last night, but not in terms of specifics, because there aren't really any specifics worth sharing. It's just there's been a lot of things. My publishers have changed their corporate affiliation, and that has been a ripple out effect for the last year that has affected a lot of things. And I couldn't talk about it because it was all, going through the contractual and legal stuff. So I couldn't talk about that, but that's now been announced. So if you want to go see what's happened with DAW Books, DAW, DAW Books, my American publishers, who I've been with since God was a pup, basically, for forever, for my whole career. You can go and see news articles about that. And I'm Into the Narrow Dark has come out, and I'm working on Navigator's Children. I'm actually getting into the final stretch of the first draft. So that's what's going on there. Oh, more people showed up. Melissa and Chris and Jennifer. Hello. Good to see you all. So what I am going to do now is I'm just going to read. And those of you who were with me last night, and why some of you are masochistic enough to want to listen to me at 1 o'clock in the morning, my time, and then again at 7 p.m. the next day, well, that's between you and your lifestyle. But I think it's mad. Anyway, so I am going to I read the foreword stuff, and I read chapter 1, in which we were introduced to Simon and to the Hayholt itself. And Simon has now been dispatched to sweep the doctor's room. This is Dr. Morganes, and that's where we're going. Oh, one last thing that I meant to say last night and didn't, but I also responded to it in a couple of things, and I've said it before, but I will say it again just to be very clear about this. There are no wrong pronunciations of the character names in my book. So just because you hear me pronounce them a certain way tonight does not mean you have to change your pronunciation if you're discussing the book with somebody. You have to remember, I spent like about a year getting ready to write these books, and I had created a lot of the characters before I worked out all the ins and outs of the various languages that these characters' names and etc. are supposed to be derived from. So, for instance, Miriamel should actually be Miriamele, because her name is Nabani, and Naban names and words tend to follow the Latinate thing where all the vowels are sounded. So among other things. I mean, so there's lots of things that I don't pronounce correctly because I started using the names before I had figured out exactly how the languages worked and how the different forms would be pronounced. So don't ever feel, because I hear people all the time say, they apologize like, oh, I'm probably saying this name wrong, and I just want to emphasize, there is no way to say a name wrong as long as you can communicate to me or someone else which character it is you're talking about. And believe it or not, my publishers used to just say things like they couldn't remember Priority's name, and they just say, the P guy, the bad guy. Well, we just had it. It was working. Why is it doing that? And is it still off? Or is it back on? Weird. I don't think I touched anything. Man, this is mysterious. Well, I'm just going to read, and somebody just, okay, somebody, if the sound goes again, just put up a big, urgent or whatever message, and I will try to figure it out. And I will try not to touch any of the 7 gazillion, dejillion cables here on my desk. And we'll hope that for the best. Okay. And for those who lost any of that, I was just saying, don't worry about pronouncing things. I don't pronounce them right either. So pronounce them any darn way you want to. Chapter 2, a 2-frog story. An idle mind is the devil's seedbed. Simon reflected ruefully on this, one of Rachel's favorite expressions, as he stared down at the display of horse armor, which now lay scattered the length of the chaplain's walking hall. A moment before, he had been leaping happily down the long tiled hallway which ran along the outer length of the chapel, on his way to sweep Dr. Morganes's chambers. He had been waving the broom about a little, of course, pretending it was the tree and drake flag of Prester John's Erkenguard and that he was leading them into battle. Perhaps he should have been paying better heed to where he was waggling it. But what sort of idiot would hang a suit of horse armor in the chaplain's hallway anyway? Needless to say, the clatter had been ferocious, and Simon expected skinny, vengeful Father Dragonbone to descend at any minute. Hurrying to gather up the dingy armor plates, some of which had torn loose from the leather straps that bound the suit together, Simon considered another of Rachel's maxims: the devil finds chores for empty hands. That was silly, of course, and made him angry. It was not the emptiness of his hands or the idleness of his thoughts that got him into trouble. No, it was the doing and the thinking that tripped him up time and time again. If only they would leave him alone. Father Dragonbone had still not made an entrance by the time he at last worried the armor into a precarious stack, then hastily pushed it beneath the skirt of a table rug. In doing so, he nearly upset the golden reliquary seated on the tabletop, but at last, and with no further mishaps, the sundered armor was gone from view, with nothing but a slightly cleaner-looking patch on the wall to proclaim that the suit had ever existed at all. Simon picked up his broom and scuffed away at the sooty stone, trying to even up the edges so that the bright spot was not so noticeable, then hurried on down the hall and out past the winding choir loft stairs. Emerging once more into the hedge garden, from which he had been so brutally abducted by the dragon, Simon halted for a moment to inhale the pungent smell of greenery, to drive the last of the tallow soap stench from his nostrils. His eye was caught by an unusual shape in the upper branches of the festival oak, an ancient tree at the far end of the garden, so gnarled and convoluted of branch that it looked as though it had grown for centuries beneath a giant bushel basket. He squinted, hand raised to block the slanting sunlight. A bird's nest, and so late in the year. It was a very near thing. He had dropped the broom and taken several steps into the garden before he remembered his mission to Morganes. If it had been any other errand, he would have been up the tree in an instant, but getting to see the doctor was a treat, and even when it entailed work. He promised himself that the nest would not remain long unexamined, and passed on through the hedges and into the courtyard before the inner bailey gate. Two figures had just entered the gate and were coming toward him, one slow and stumpy. Oh, for God's sakes, are we suddenly having... I have no idea what is going on with this thing. Sorry, we apparently are having weird sounds on the thing, extraneous noise. I don't know any reason why that would be the case unless we're just overloaded here. Lord of mercy, this is frustrating. Okay, let me think. Well, let me just, here, I can't do the camera, but let's just do, all right. Okay, and let me see if I've got output. Okay, I just switched over to the built-in microphone. Can people hear me? Somebody just dropped me a, Jeremy, you just dropped me a note. Can somebody let me know if you can hear me? Can you hear me? I'm not seeing any notes, so maybe nobody is hearing me. All right. Okay. Okay, so now I'm back to, yeah, I know it's really frustrating. I apologize. Okay, now I am just on what should be the built-in mic. Right. I wonder if they're deliberately doing this to force me. No, back, but still a robot. That is so weird. That's got to be not my computer, because now we're going directly through the computer's audio, from the built-in microphone. And this is a brand new laptop. So that doesn't make much sense that it would still be having, probably no longer a cable involved. This is, in fact, the only functioning microphone is now the one on the laptop itself. Still Cylon sound. Okay. Well, exterminate. We might as well. We could just kind of do a Doctor Who sort of thing. We could have a big Dalek fest. Okay. I wonder if this is something that would be fixed by not using the free version. How funny. Sound like a robot. I wish I could hear this myself. There's lots of other things plugged in, but none of them should be doing this particular thing. What happens if I do this? I lose. Okay. Okay, that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Oh, yes, I do need that. That's my camera. Okay. All right, that's the camera. That's that. All right. That's that. Okay. So I've reduced this thing now. There's a thing that's still attached. And things, I don't think. It's what allows me to have my camera. It's not unplugged, though. It is plugged. All right, there. Oh, for Christ. Echo cancellation off 2. So it should not be. Okay, that's the key. I have no idea. Okay, I'm so irritated. No pictures. Yeah, no, I know. All right. Is that not ejected my that doesn't mean anything. I have to say, guys, super sorry. I don't know what keeps happening. It's not interest on my part. All right. Yeah, well, this is your back. Don't do anything else. I know the camera to try and move some things around to try and was happening. That I didn't do anything last time, or got weird, and there's no good reason for it. It might not be this particular video program, and more than because there are weird little issues with it as well that I noticed, like my vanishes like 25 minutes into the I do here because I cannot make the sound work. We've rejiggered everything better. Okay, we there. That is play. Okay, let me try one last, and then okay, the camera is going to disappear for a second. Out. Hang on. Here's the mic. microphone, audio. Now, I know the picture's back. You guys can even hear me when I say things like the camera. So, back is the sound back. Or is it still crackly? Now that I've just I think I've tried. I'm running everything as I can, and I've disconnected everything from the or this is me really grumpy. It looked like this is it. This is it wouldn't be as quite as obvious, turning red with frustration and rage. All right, thing. Let's try. Let's see with this microphone. Although I've microphones, and I'm beginning to think it's not the more complicated built into the system. All right, hang on. Bloody heck. Okay, let's try this microphone. Who's this horrible show? Who's the sound here for a minute, but I'm going to see a different microphone. So. Okay. All right. Now, sound, even with this mic on, no voice, no sound. If that's the case, then no voice, no sound, choppy. Okay, this has got to be something either we were having some issues with the old computer. That's one of the, or there's still studio software. So I am going to see if I can find for this and this one, and if I can do another one later, if you guys would rather do that than wait till next. But let me see if I can solve the problem first. No idea why it's doing this. We went through lab reasonably well. So what happens and why it's happening. Been on my social media and let me know if you want to wait, try and do something beforehand, and do my best to figure out why this thing is so. There's no reason for it to be doing this when it was working. Changed anything. So let me type a message. So, oh yeah, I can't do that anymore, have I? What? How can we? Oh, for frick's sake. I'm not happy with this particular. Okay. I will be back when I can. Again, apologies if you can hear me, and just tried to type into the chat to explain what was those who can't hear me. And as part of the chat is read only. So who knows? We may be back next week, different software platform to figure out. Apologies. I will see what I can do.